Aloha and welcome back to Across the Spectrum. We're going to go over Bernie Sanders on the Flagrant podcast with Andrew Shultz again, this time through the perspective of Megan Kelly and Anna Kasparian.
On the subject of the Dems, Bernie, the Medicare prices and the prescription drugs, he went on the Flagrant podcast recently with our pal Andrew Shultz, and they had a really interesting discussion. Here's a bit where he's talking about the problem within the Democrat Party. It's SOT 19.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy. But from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
But then could we not also say if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? We often hear.
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
You're going to caucus with them.
I love the way he talks. The accent is just so great to listen to. He's not wrong, right? I mean, he of all people has standing to say that because it happened to him twice.
2 times.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Bernie's back. And what I mean by that is he's realized that you can't really play nice with the Democratic establishment and expect to get your policy priorities passed, expect them to help you out in whatever your agenda might be. And, 2015, 2016 Bernie, when he was running in the 2016 race, was a little different from 2020 Bernie. And what I mean by that is as soon as the Democratic establishment saw an economic populist like Bernie Sanders gain the kind of momentum he did, they cynically used identity politics to crush him.
Yes.
Oh, you're not addressing BLM. I mean, I remember
But he did address BLM. I don't understand how people say they could use identity politics against Bernie Sanders. He's always been on identity politics, and he's always been on the right side of identity politics.
one of his campaign rallies, 2 people from BLM just jumped on stage, interrupted the entire event, called him out for allegedly not caring about Black bodies or Black lives. And it was just utter ridiculous, cynical use of identity politics.
I thought that was an awesome moment. Those ladies came up and were yelling at him, and he said, okay. He backed off. He gave them the mic and let them speak. The same thing happened to Hillary Clinton. A black girl went up and held up a sheet that had some writing on it. I forget what it said, like war criminal or something. It said something. And Hillary Clinton had her escorted out. Didn't let her talk or nothing. Bernie Sanders, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. They came up. They said, oh, you're not doing the right thing. And he said, well, tell me, what is the right thing? And he sat there quietly next to them and let them give a speech.
To crush someone. And in the end, I mean, what did the party get? In the end, Trump got elected in 2016.
The party got what they wanted. They got Donald Trump over Bernie Sanders.
Of course. Then in 2020, you have Joe Biden, who was able to run from his basement because of COVID. But the only reason why I think Biden won in that election or in that race is because of the fact that, many Americans didn't like the way Trump handled the coronavirus. Right. So I think by the time you get to 2024, people were just done with Democrats because they're sick. Honestly, people are sick of the identity politics. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't fight for a just cause. If you see...
if you fight for a just cause, don't you have to identify the cause and play identity politics? You guys are so stupid messing up words. I hate when right-wingers do that. Right-wingers just break words so that we can't communicate. Now they call right-wingers woke because they care about Gaza and stuff. They care about certain things. Yeah, you're woke when you care about something. You're awake to the plight of whatever you're woke to. So, I mean, now they're woke too. So it's fine being woke, and it's fine doing identity politics as long as you do it with a good heart and for the right reasons and stuff.
Instances of discrimination obviously something should be done about it. But it wasn't really about doing something about discrimination or doing something about our broken law enforcement system or anything like that. It was used cynically to crush economic populists within the Democratic Party. But now what I'm noticing with Bernie and AOC, by the way, is they've kind of shed a lot of that rhetoric because
She
they
took down her
realized
pronouns.
she did, exactly. And I mean, look, if AOC is willing to self-reflect and realize, okay, I was pushing for things that most Americans, including Democrats, weren't into, and I need to go back to the bread and butter
Like what?
issues, great. I think that's a good way to kind of move forward for Democrats. But
AOC and Bernie are the most popular Democrats there are. What are they supposed to be changing? Like, you're not even specifying what they said or what they did that was these bad identity politics or whatever.
I mean, she needs a long runway to kind of rebrand herself as an economic populist, similar to who Bernie Sanders is.
We had one.
Here he is speaking to some of these issues that you just outlined. Here's SOT 20.
We have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's crazy that he knows this and can still be part of the Democratic establishment. Like, what are you doing?
You know, that was just, they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color, and you know, they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
You know, it's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election, and they started to label us the podcast bros and said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does.
Then why don't you leave the liberal elite? Go to the left. What are you doing, Bernie?
And then I'll give you one more because he followed up on no one wants to keep doing this identity politics thing anymore in SOT 21.
And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather
I don't
than
think
say,
anyone's ever seen that said that.
what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Well, you know what the Democratic Party stands for? Nothing. They don't stand for universal health care. They don't stand for a higher minimum wage. They don't stand for anything. You know what the Green Party stands for? Our platform is very out there, very much progressive, anti-war, universal health care, all that good stuff. You know what the Republicans stand for? You don't know what the Democrats stand for. They say they stand for certain things, but they don't pass the things they stand for.
You know,
They
is
say they
every
stand
gay
for.
person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics, in the
Yes.
sense of which side are you on?
Class is still an identity also.
Are you going to stand
Still identity
with
politics.
working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living
Working families is an identity.
wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not? Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not?
Or not.
And the Democrats aren't going to do none of that stuff. The Democrats are the or not on that. You know they are. The Republicans are the or not on that. The Green Party is a party that will do those things. If Bernie was serious, he'd be back in the Green Party. And anyone who wants those things, you need to just come to the Green Party. You're just you're not even fighting an uphill battle. You're like trying to swim with cement shoes on. It's not going to work.
Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, you know,
Yeah.
what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
Go ahead, Anna.
No, well said. Well said. That's the Bernie Sanders that I supported in 2015 and 2016. I also voted for him in the primaries in 2020. But by then, he had allowed the Democratic establishment to essentially tinker with his campaign. So he was kind of paying lip service to the culture warriors who really, in my opinion, don't really give a damn about the causes that they allegedly fight for. They're more interested in having an excuse to go around scolding people and destroying campaigns of politicians that actually want to be public
It
servants.
depends on who you're talking about. If you find the bad actors of anything, yeah, you're going to find bad people. But if there's all kinds of people who are grassroots organized and and want good for different, whatever, identities or different people. Like, say, like Native Americans in certain places have, you know, like they did, what's it called, Standing Rock or whatever, right? That's an identity politics. They were standing up for their land, not wanting an oil pipeline through their water or something, you know, like, it's stupid. Like, there's a lot of people who have identity politics that are good. You guys want to pick out the bad ones and fine, then that's not what it is.
Who actually care about working class families in this country. And that was absolutely disgusting that that happened about the causes that they allegedly fight for. They're more interested in having an excuse to go around scolding people and destroying campaigns of politicians that actually want to be public servants, who actually care about working class families in this country.
Right, that's like liberals, how they destroy the Green Party trying to do something for real for people. And all these dim shadies pushing the Democratic parties, exactly who she's talking about, but Bernie Sanders is one of those people, sheep herding people into the Democratic Party. He says a good thing, but he's putting people where they'll never be able to get the good thing.
And that was absolutely disgusting that that happened to Bernie in 2016 and to some extent in 2020 as well. But
one of the great challenges in this world.
What you heard from Bernie right there, in my opinion, is a winning brand of politics. Americans want to be left alone when it comes to their personal lives, okay? They don't want to be judged because they're living in a traditional conservative household. They don't want to be judged if they happen to be gay and want to marry a partner of the same sex. They just want the government out of their personal lives entirely.
The Republicans are the ones that are in people's personal lives. They care if you're gay or straight or trans or whatever. No one cares from the left what you do, as long as you ain't hurting other people.
But there is a role for the government. The role for the government is to protect the American people, not only from criminals, not only from foreign threats, but also from corporate greed. And that was the message of Bernie's.
Oh, yeah, that's never been the role of the American government. The American government is to protect the corporations from the people.
Sanders' campaigns, and the corporate Democrats loathed him. And so they used identity politics cynically to destroy his campaigns, his possibilities of winning.
Why did they loathe him? But like, why?
You should ask their corporate donors. You should ask Third Way. Third Way, a think tank that essentially helps to aid and abet the neoliberalism brain rot that has infected the Democratic Party.
They're big, and their build is more moderate. That's what you always hear about Third Way. They're the more moderate Democrats.
They're just pro-corporate. They're just pro-corporate.
Both parties are pro-corporate. That's what it is. The Democrats and the Republicans are corporate parties. That's why we can't have nice things, because they don't do stuff for the people. They do stuff for their donors.
And it happens on both sides.
Exactly. She got it right there. Perfect way to end. Keep coming back to Across the Spectrum.